Hello all, I'm Ryan Steen, and I am here to compare my classic novel, The Lord of the Flies, to the contemporary novel I chose after, the last book in the universe. Let's begin. Now, one thing I noticed, the main difference between these books is in War of the Flies, since they're stranded on an island and they're just trying to find, get someone to come, it's more of a waiting contest where they're just waiting for someone to show up. Okay? So it's more of a waiting game for them. They're not trying to, accomplish a specific goal other than just survive long enough. The last book in the universe, however, in that one, the main character, Spaz, is trying to get to it halfway across, I guess would be the state length, to find his baby sister and hopefully find a cure for her. So there's an actual accomplishable goal. So just, the basic story structure is slightly different. One very, very big point that they have in common, and in fact the reason I chose the last book in the universe after War of the Flies, was they're both dystopian novels. Dystopia, for those of you who don't know, is not a utopia. Now, dystopia is not anti-utopia. An anti-utopia is one that was founded on the betterment of human life. However, a dystopia doesn't even try to pretend like they care. Essentially oh, you know what? You live in crappy conditions. That sucks. We're putting on the Ritz. We're rich. We're eating food. Good food. This isn't out of a can. It's usually, essentially, there's a privileged few, usually. The conditions of life are just pure, utter garbage. All the normal people are surrounded constantly by pain and agony. They're usually very poor compared to the rich people. They're usually oppressed by the government, such as the archetypical Big Brother. Of course, there's usual violence everywhere, just like in A Clockwork Orange, where a NASDAQ could just come up and toll chuck you across the Gulliver, and the Polly wouldn't do nothing about it. There's usually disease, which is caused by the poverty, and pollution, because people are ignorant. Now, the thing in War of the Flies, it also deals with the ferocity and the lows that human beings can descend to, and their highs. There's also a very deep political structure in War of the Flies, whereas the main character, Ralph, is supposed to represent democracy, and Jack is supposed to represent, I guess some could say communism, but I would just say barbarianism. It's probably not a word, sorry. But, yeah. And in this book, the privileged few, I guess could be said, near the ending of the book, would be, Jack and his tribe, because usually he has all the older boys on his side, and they're eating meat, hunting every night, having a good time and such. But, yeah, I guess they would make them the privileged few, because they essentially run the island, and a few people die in there. The last book in the universe, on the other hand, the privileged few are the people who live in Eden, as I said before. Now, the people in Eden, as I said, are genetically improved. They are better, and they look down upon the other people, the normal people. Now, the thing that these can have in common is, War of the Flies, as I said, Jack broke off into a tribe. In the last book in the universe, everyone minus the perfect people in Eden, live in latches, which could be described as tribes, and are all run by latch bosses, which could be described as chieftains. Yeah. So essentially, both dystopian, different story structure. They both have tribes, and if I had to choose between the two, I'm not saying this just because this is proven over and over again, I'd choose War of the Flies. Much better.